Accessing library computer data.
The world doesn't always adhere to logic. And sometimes when you're lost, you're found.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Star Trek Discovery Podcast. We're running through all the Discovery episodes. We've reached the mid-season break. So after 9 episodes of the new CBS All Access Star Trek show, me and Clay are going to give a little bit of a roundup, meta discussion, I suppose. We've talked about what we thought about each individual episode in the past, so we won't really beat that into the ground anymore. But I just thought that, Clay, we'd have a conversation about where we stand on the show in general, maybe talk about CBS All Access a little bit, and then sort of talk about I guess I'll start this question for you. I felt, I don't know if you felt any different. Reviewing this show in the podcast felt totally different to me than reviewing the other previous shows that we've done, TNG, TOS, and some of DS9. I think that the nature of talking about a show as it happens is totally different from the other shows, obviously, where I have a complete retrospective view of everything. Mm-hmm. And I think that I would say we've gotten by far, like the audience reaction to our Discovery coverage has been by far the most, not by far, but it's had the most sort of like disagreement comments about things. And yeah. I was wondering if you thought that is due to the fact that, how much of it is due to the fact that the older shows are at least 20 years old at this point, and people have sort of thought about what they think of those shows, and it's kind of, what those shows are, and your review of it is as a whole, and like you're able to sort of take everything into account. And if Discovery is different from that, how much of an effect it's having on people viewing the show as an episode by episode thing.
Yeah, no, I would 100% agree with that. I mean, all that other stuff has had so much time to cement itself and kind of develop its own reputation, for better or worse, episode to episode. But despite what you think of each individual episode, there seems to be a consensus for everything as a whole. If that makes sense. Like, there's not. I feel like there's not a lot of people who you could disagree over, whether or not Darmok is a great episode or something. But generally, the person you're disagreeing with has the same outlook on the show as you do.
Right.
And yeah, I think Discovery it's hard to do that for exactly what for the reasons that you said, because it's not. We don't have the whole thing encapsulated yet. And I think about this a lot as we've been talking about Discovery. It's like, well, what if we could put ourselves back in time and we were and what would our Usenet group look like or something for the first season of TNG? Yeah. I feel like it would be fairly similar, right? Like you're reacting to a show that's a continuation of a franchise that you love in a new form you're not used to, with new technologies, a new look, and new characters. And the first season isn't really good. So, I feel like it would probably be along the same line. Like, I'm not, I don't feel like saying I'm not enjoying it that much is like sacrilege or anything, because it hasn't really earned its stripes yet,
Yeah, right. And I think that enjoying like the first season of TNG is almost an ironic thing at this point. Like you enjoy it because you realize that it's bad. Basically, like your enjoyment of it extends to it only draws from the fact that it's a bad show at that point, and you kind of get a bad movie vibe enjoyment from it on some level. And
there's also, I think we talked about this during the TNG podcast, but there's also the ability to it still features the characters that you love from later seasons. So
sure.
You can still, even if you didn't love the show until season 3, you can go back and watch the first 2 seasons and still see all of your favorite characters pretty much doing the thing that they've done for 7 seasons.
Right.
So there's an enjoyability level there. much like I've talked about how there's in a lot of these long running shows, there's a certain point where maybe the show isn't good anymore, but you still watch it because you love the characters. I think it works in reverse too, where you can watch the older episodes because you love the characters, even though it hasn't really picked up steam yet.
Yeah. The weaker episodes are just elevated by the fact that you can go back and retroactively enjoy it because you like the characters at that point, even if you don't like the stories or the episodes that they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that the Discovery is, like, I rewatched all the Discoveries, and I'll put rewatch in air quotes because I had them running in the background for the past couple of days as I did work. And, you know, you didn't do that, obviously. I didn't expect you to. But I think that, would you think that this show would work better as a binge show or a week-by-week show?
I honestly don't know.
My opinion was, I thought it actually worked worse as a binge show because while it does sort of keep things in the forefront for you, it feels extremely disjointed when you watch all these episodes in a row. Like they're distinct enough from each other, which I guess is I was sort of having trouble with the episodic nature of it before. I didn't think that the series was episodic enough, and it kind of is. It's just that the episodes themselves are not particularly good as standalone episodes. But watching it all together, it felt very disjointed and sort of it jumps around a lot. Like the movement from episode to episode isn't particularly clear about what's going on, and it keeps things a little bit from feeling like they land anywhere. Although I will say that I do enjoy, contrary to like what seems to be the popular opinion, I do enjoy the Klingon stuff a little bit. I still maintain getting rid of T'Kuvma, which is something that we haven't talked about, was a mistake or a choice that I don't understand why they did that in the first place.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
I don't understand why the Vok character isn't just T'Kuvma at this point.
Yeah. No, that makes good narrative sense to keep him around.
I just like it's in one of the first two episodes. The Klingon stuff I think has some okay things in it. Do you remember the scene where T'Kuvma calls the other Klingons, the other warring houses, and they're talking to him over subspace, so they're all holograms, and they're saying, "Where's T'Kuvma? Like, we're wasting our time. I have something to do. And T'Kuvma enters the scene. The camera shoots him from behind as he sort of mocks them, saying, like, listen to you say my journey, my struggle, my whatever. That's a good Klingon scene. Like, that explains totally what this whole Klingon angle is about. It explains T'Kuvma's thing, and it explains where the core Cole character is coming from. I just think that stuff really works. You can disagree about their Klingon language, but I kind of liked that, at least at the outset.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like we kind of agree in that the biggest failing of the show is just how fast it moves for some reason. And like, imagine if they had kept T'Kuvma around for the first nine episodes, and they had killed him at the end of the 9th episode, and so then you can do the stuff that they did with the houses kind of falling apart, or that whole thing that they've been doing as like the second half of your season.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got you'd have had an actual credible antagonist instead of just Klingons plural, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that's I think that's one of the issues with killing him off is there's not really a face. Okay, the issue of killing him off and then also taking is it Vok? It's Vok, right?
Yeah.
Taking Vok off screen there's no Klingon side of the equation that you can really give attachment to, because when they do give you Klingon stuff, it's like, I don't give a shit. I mean, I like the guy. Was it Cole, the leader?
Yep, Cole, the evil Klingon.
I like him, but I don't really know anything about him. We're not really spending any time with him, and
he seems like he's just a generic bad Klingon, sort of. He doesn't have T'Kuvma's. T'Kuvma had a personality. Like, he was defined by his goals and his ideology, which is different than what Cole's is, which is much more of a generic, like, I'm going to win the war and be top of the pig pile or whatever.
Yeah, and Laurel, I mean, I don't. I don't really give a shit about that character.
No, well, I think her weakness, you can say what you think, but her weakness to me is that it is totally unclear what her motivations and what her goals are at this point. Like they're trying to keep it mysterious, but I feel like you need to, if she's going to be the main character, you kind of have to have a better sense of what she's doing throughout all the episodes, and they don't do that. They're actively trying to confuse you about what her objectives are.
Yeah, and I mean, even if she's not the main character, it's just you should probably have a pretty clear idea of what she's doing in general. I feel like with that stuff, I feel like they're trying too hard to play it coy about stuff. And I mean, we're still talking about this with the idea that the Ash Tyler as Vok thing reveal is coming, which it seems to be. But like, it seems like they're going out of their way to play the mystery. Play up the mystery without giving you anything to latch onto as far as what the actual story is. I don't know if that made any sense, but like I guess what I'm trying to say is they're obscuring what the Klingons or what Laurel is doing to the point where you can't follow it at all.
Right.
For me, so a reveal is not going to have a ton of impact because I don't really know what she's doing just in the general stream of the story.
Right. It won't be a satisfying conclusion as opposed to just wrapping up or explaining like, oh, okay, that's what she's doing. You're not getting that like emotional build towards her success or failure at any point because you don't really know what she's doing.
Yeah, it's like you're watching a bunch of Littlefinger scenes from Game of Thrones, but you don't have any idea. Like the context of them doesn't make any sense.
Sure. Yeah. Right. We're not getting the resolutions that Littlefinger gets every 3 episodes in Game of Thrones, where it's like, oh, that's what he was trying to do, like, and that's why he's building towards this and that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe if it sounds like we're giving that character too much weight to talk about, I mean, that's just what we're talking about for now. But like, I mean, I can see why someone might be like, oh, well, she's not really important. She's kind of a minor character or whatever. But I think it's just indicative of how the entire show works.
Right. Yeah. 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 I think that Discovery is just kind of, I don't know. Like we talked before in the last couple episodes about whether or not it would be a show that you would watch if we weren't podcasting about it. Mm-hmm. And now that we're at the break, I think a good way to sort of bring things in is to just talk about like the delivery system of this show is CBS All Access, which we're fortunate enough that the patrons are kind enough to pay for it. I don't see the bill. It just goes directly from the Patreon to pay for my monthly subscription to it. But what do you think I should do here, right? So they've aired these things. I'm paying $10 a month to watch these things on CBS All Access. We now have 1 month of a billing month that's going to go by before I get new episodes. Should I be lazy and not cancel my subscription and pay them $10 for nothing, or should I cancel it and then renew? And which do you think is the most appropriate thing? And I'll say that I have a lot of problems with CBS All Access, and it's not the fact that the problem is not this internet reaction to CBS All Access, where a lot of people seem to have the opinion that all production houses should sell everything to Netflix, and then we should be able to watch everything on Netflix for some reason.
Yeah.
I understand that companies need to make money and they need to protect their property and they need to, get the most out of it that they can. I don't hold anything against that. I understand that there's going to be a million different streaming services in the future. You need to do a better job as a consumer picking which ones you want to actually use and which ones you don't want to use. So I don't have a problem with it in that regard. I do have a problem with the fact that CBS All Access sucks as a streaming service. Like, besides the fact that there were a couple episodes where I couldn't watch them without the thing buffering constantly as I was trying to go through it. They have all the Star Treks, right? So you can watch them. They're not the remastered versions. They're not the high def versions of TNG
really?
and TOS. Yeah, they're the old standard definition versions, which is absurd for something that I'm paying for this, outside of the fact that they actually don't have their entire library of CBS shows on the streaming service, which makes zero sense. So with all that in mind, give me your thoughts about what you thought about CBS All Access and whether or not canceling it for a month would be something you would do before moving into the next season and renewing it to basically not give them $10 for nothing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think they fucked it up. I think they fucked up their launch big time with this show. And it seems even more so because I didn't realize that they didn't have the HD versions. But if you're leading your new platform out with Star Trek and you have the SD versions of Star Trek on there,
yeah,
that's ridiculous. And as far as Discovery goes, I think they screwed up by not putting the second episode on TV.
Right.
Because the second episode, as we talked about at the time, was where the hook came in and is what got me interested in the show. If you had just watched the first one, it would just seem like kind of, whatever. I'm not going to pay $10 for this.
Yeah. Story-wise, the first episode was just a lead into the climax of the second episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as your main question goes, if I was paying for this week to week, I would specifically based on this show, I would probably cancel for a month.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like they need a kick in the pants. I don't know. My $10 isn't gonna break their bank, but I feel like after 9 episodes, if a bunch of people cancel, then it might tell them something. I don't know how that stuff works, but I think with that stuff in general, it's going to be interesting how these things go because, I think what I would like to assume they've already thought of this as a probability, but the more streaming services there are that feature new content, I think the number of people who are signed up for longer periods of time is going to drop.
Yeah.
So, for instance, with this show, honestly, if it were me at this point, if I were paying for it, I probably would cancel and I would probably not renew it until the show was over. And then I would sign up again, watch all the episodes, and then I would probably cancel again.
Right. Yeah.
And I think the more streaming services there are, that's going to happen a lot more. And, I don't know if that's how, I don't know how that's received by the companies, but it makes sense to me. If I'm going to have to spend, let's say I have the money to spend across 5 services, but there's 10 services that have stuff I want to watch, then I'm going to have to drop some stuff every now and then so I can catch up on other things. I mean, the way people watch TV, you can catch up on the 5 shows you like on CBS. Well, maybe that's a bad example. The 5 shows you like on HBO at the end of their season in like 2 weeks. You can do that in a month, easy.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like they kind of, for something that seems like it's a big deal for them, I don't think they put their best foot forward. And I mean, I don't see a reason. Are the Star Treks, the previous seasons, they're still available on Netflix, right?
Yes, they are, and Amazon.
Yeah, they cancel it. Who cancel it? I mean, what? Yeah. Unless you want to watch Big Bang Theory reruns, which I don't think you do. And even if you do, they're on TBS all day.
No, yeah, I know. I mean, the thing about what you were saying is that I think they're just praying that it requires a lot of active billing management to sort of remember to cancel things and renew things like that. And I think that they basically are hoping it's an amount that's small enough where you set it and forget it. And you're just like, yeah, this month's bill came in and it automatically paid, whatever. That's fine. I'll just watch it. I think that to me, the more upsetting thing is that I would gladly support Star Trek Discovery, but they should, and like they would actually make more money from me if they sold every single episode for $1.50 on Amazon, like a lot of other shows do immediately after they air. Yeah. I would easily pay for just the Star Trek Discovery stuff, not pay for their shitty CBS All Access service, and they would get more money out of me in the long run because of how much I would pay per week doing that. And they're not doing that for whatever reason because they want to build up this All Access streaming thing, which is, I don't watch anything on it.
Yeah, what can you name 3 shows that are on CBS right now?
Young Sheldon. Big Bang and Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, that doesn't count. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think some of these companies are really banking on, you know, those hardcore CBS fans to come over and pay unlimited dollars a month so they can watch reruns of shit they can watch on TV.
NCIS, yeah, I know those people are dying though. They need to get the young market.
The people who are watching NCIS don't know how to use the streaming services.
You know what's funny about CBS All Access? I don't know if you noticed this. The only reason I subscribe, and maybe a whole bunch of people subscribe, is for Star Trek, right? When you open the app, Star Trek is not one of the top shows listed on their front page. You have to like scroll through pages to get to it. It doesn't just pop up unless it shows up in your recently watched list, but it doesn't.
Oh, what are you using it through?
The Roku.
Okay, because I'm doing the same thing, and it's every time I go in there, it's like the first thing it shows me.
Oh, is it really? Oh, my you've watched list shows up there, but if I click on the shows tab, it's not one of the top shows that pops up there for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
But yeah, I do the same thing. I go to like my recently watched history line and I just click into that and it brings me to the most recent thing. But yeah, I just think that I probably will cancel just to give you, because when you cancel, they give you the little text box to explain why you're canceling. I'd just say, because I don't want to pay for this. The only thing I'm watching is Star Trek. So when that comes on, let me know. And that just kind of ties into the, you know, if you get real cynical, you start wondering, well, do they do the mid-season breaks because they claim to have this production time that they need, or they just want another month of people subscribing and not getting anything out of it? Yeah. And so it's a little bit sad in that state, but I do wish that they would just sell them on Amazon. I can understand not wanting to do them over CBS like network air and stuff, but I don't really like being sort of forced into this service that I'm not particularly interested when all I want is one product, and I would gladly pay you for that one product.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that they don't do both.
Yeah.
Like what's the worst that's going to happen?
I assume the DVDs would have to be coming at the end of the season, I would think.
Oh, I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, so but maybe they're just waiting for that. But I mean, I'm the consumer who buys more stuff digitally and just has like an Amazon video list at this point than I have of DVDs that come in. And so they would just that would be playing to my thing. You think Amazon would step in and say this is the way to go for them, but who knows? Yeah, I don't really have much else to talk about Discovery. We'll be here when the show kicks back on with its new season and everything like that. But you know, I'm not super impressed with the show at this point. Maybe things will get better. Hopefully things will get better. I think that them being renewed for a second season might drastically change things. I'd be interested almost in more about the second season than the first season, especially seeing as where they end things with the first season.
I was wondering about that too, because it seems like I listened to an interview with one of the creators of the TV show Flash, and the interviewer was talking to him saying like, man, you guys just really went for it. You guys started pulling out these deep cut references and villains and stuff, and it, you know, made it really fun right away, whereas traditionally in comic book TV shows they're hesitant to do that stuff, and you know, it always takes forever. Like, why did you guys choose to do that? And he said, well, we didn't know if we were going to get a second season, so we wanted to make the Flash show we wanted to see with all that shit in there and just throw it at the wall just in case we didn't get a second season. And I'm wondering, it almost feels like that's what they're doing, because it's like it's moving so fast that it feels like they are just, you know, they've got 2 seasons worth of plots they want to do, but we don't know if we're going to get to it, so let's just do everything we want to do now. Right.
No one wants to be frustrated when this is all said and done with our great storyline that we have, so we'll cram everything into 15 episodes and see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's I'm also leaning more, you know, one of the disagreements between CBS and Brian Fuller was that Fuller wanted to do an anthology show. I think I would have preferred an anthology show at this point. But I mean, it's harsh to say without getting to the second season, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But just know that going forward, we'll probably change the way that we record these. I haven't talked about about this, Clay, but I think I need one night of thinking, and also the fact that I'm like dead on my feet by 10 o'clock at night. So recording is like pretty kind of a tough thing. I kind of feel that I wanted to apologize to the listeners because I'm not sure that I did a very good job during Discovery. I think I need
the listeners and I have been talking actually, Wes, and we were going to bring that up with you.
I listened to myself talk, and while we were recording, I could feel myself like searching my brain to try to figure out what I'm talking about. Like it's not a good headspace to be in. I'm too tired, and I haven't had a chance to think about it and sort of like get things organized for how I want to go about it. So we'll probably record the day after, I think, and then put it up the day after that. I think that's better for everybody. Some people were saying they appreciated our sort of immediate takes on it, but I'm not sure that if you compare our Discovery conversations with the other Trek conversations, the other ones are just better, I think.
I see what you're saying. I'm still not convinced that that's just a matter of the content that we're discussing.
Yes, it could be that too. So at least I'm hoping that maybe another 12 hours will give me time to think about the content in a way that will be a little bit more than like, I don't really know what's going on, like just to have points of discussion going forward.
I've never felt like we're explicitly missing tons of details or anything, but I can see how doing another. I'm not saying that because I absolutely want to do it at 10 o'clock every Sunday night, right? But I don't feel like we've missed a ton so far. Like, no, not anything that really matters. Let's put it that way.
Right. I think I would agree with that, and I think that some of the criticism that we get is funny to me because the person will be like, they'll bring up some small thing that we missed, and it's a comment that comes in like 7 days after we've recorded the episode, and this person has probably watched the show 3 times since then. And it's just, I think you're holding us to an unfair standard there, where it's a total difference between the original shows and this show. Like, think of this series of podcasts is different from the other series, because the other series to me are my sort of final word on those episodes. Like, this is what I think about those episodes. This one is much more of a reaction podcast than a review podcast, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So lay off, Aunt Karen.
That's right. Grandma, take it easy. And I think that would be my only point of contention, is that it's a different kind of podcast, even though this is the same exact show that we're putting all these episodes under. And we'll see how it changes going forward. Maybe things will resolve itself, and maybe the day off of recording will give us a little bit of leeway. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for listening to the show. Clay, thanks for doing Discovery so far, and we'll be picking up in January when it starts up again.
Yeah, wake me up when it starts.
I know, and I'll be canceling my CBS All Access and saving $10 of money, which I'd rather like donate to charity or something, I think. So I'll do that.
Light it on fire, and then make a video of it, and then tweet it at CBS.
While I'm wearing like Spock ears or something, yeah, and just being very, very angry with them.
Make a big display. Make a video where you set up your phone at like, you haven't really been able to check the angle, so it's like slightly off.
Yep.
And it's you talking into camera, but all you can see is from like the middle of your chest to your feet.
it's
talking
horribly
about how you're dissatisfied with the product, and then smash your Roku with a hammer right on camera.
And it's horribly backlit, so everything's bright in the background, and you can't see anything in the foreground. It's just shadow. Yeah. But guys, thank you very much for listening. Hope you really enjoyed the wrap-up thing. We'll be back with Discovery. And otherwise, DS9 continues as usual. We're getting up to end of season 1, so the episodes start to actually pick up. That'll be interesting. And you can check out our new podcast, which is coming out. We're doing something called Real Ripe and Real Rotten. We're doing the highs and the lows of your favorite Hollywood celebrities, actors, and directors. We'll be looking at the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes and the lowest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes for a specific actor. Patrick Stewart is number 1, so he's coming up real soon. You can check that out. It's Real Ripe and Real Rotten. Otherwise, guys, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.